The village of Oluwo, tucked between rolling red hills and thick forests, had always been a quiet place. The kind of place where time moved slowly, where the sound of a pestle-pounding yam echoed across valleys, and where even death came politely after warning the elders in dreams. But that changed the year the sickness came. It began with a cough, dry, hollow, endless. Then came the fever that turned skin gray, lips black, and breath into something foul enough to make goats run. Within weeks, 5 families had buried their loved ones. The local herbalist, Mama Cade, said it was a curse from the spirits of the forest. The church pastor said it was punishment from God. But everyone agreed on one thing: the sickness was not natural. Then one evening a man arrived. He came in a dusty car that no one recognized. White paint peeling, headlights like dull eyes. The sun was falling when he stopped near the marketplace. People saw him step out, tall and lean, wearing a doctor's coat that looked too white for the red dust of Oluwo. His name, he said, was Dr. Bako. He spoke gently, like someone who carried secrets. "I heard your village needs a healer," he said. "And I go where healing is needed." The elders welcomed him with gratitude and curiosity. They led him to the old colonial clinic, a crumbling building at the edge of the forest, abandoned for more than 20 years. Everyone expected he would want it repaired first, but the doctor only smiled. "No need," he said quietly. "I like old places. They remember things." That night, under a purple sky, villagers saw a faint light flicker inside the clinic for the first time in decades. Within days, miracles began to happen. Those who were sick went in weak and coughing blood, and came out walking, smiling, thanking the doctor. He gave them small bottles of bitter liquid that burned their throats but cured their fevers. He worked all night, but no one ever saw him eat or sleep. When people brought him food, they always found it untouched the next morning. Cold rice, dried stew, uneaten bread. "He is a man of God," said one woman. "No," said another. "He is a gift from the ancestors." The village, once filled with fear, now praised the mysterious doctor. Children followed him on the road, waving. Women prayed for his long life. Men offered to rebuild the clinic. But he only shook his head. "No need," he said softly again. "This place is already home." At night, when the wind blew from the forest, some villagers said they heard whispers from the clinic, voices of many people crying softly. The next morning, when the sun rose, the cries would vanish like mist. And the patients who had been cured, some of them started to look different. Their eyes were darker, quieter. They spoke less. And after a few days they stopped eating too. When old Mama Cade tried to talk to one of them, the woman only stared at her and said, "The doctor says we must rest in silence." One night, a young boy named Sephew, who worked at the marketplace, decided to spy on the doctor. He had noticed something strange. The doctor never came out of the clinic during the day, only at dusk. So Sephew hid behind a termite mound near the clinic and waited. When midnight came, the light in the clinic flickered again. Not yellow but blue like cold fire. Sephew crept closer. Through a crack in the wall, he saw Dr. Bako standing over a patient on a wooden table. The man's chest was open, but there was no blood. The doctor's hands moved fast, pulling something invisible from the man's body. A faint mist, glowing white. Sephew gasped. The doctor turned his head sharply, eyes glowing like embers in a dead fire. "Who's there?" The boy ran. By morning, Sephew was gone. His mother found his shoes near the forest, covered in ash. The next day, Dr. Bako told the villagers the boy had gone to the city for school. Everyone believed him, except Mama Cade. She went to the forest that night, carrying her calabash of cowrie shells, and asked the spirits of the ancestors to show her the truth. The wind answered, carrying the smell of medicine and smoke. And in that whisper, she heard a name she hadn't heard in 20 years. Bako. Her heart froze. She remembered now. There had been a Dr. Bako before. A young doctor who ran the same clinic long ago, during the old epidemic. He had died trying to save his patients when the sickness consumed him too. But how could he be back? The spirit said only one thing before vanishing. Some doctors heal bodies. Others feed on souls. Mama Cade ran to the elder's hut at dawn. Her voice shook as she spoke. That man is not living. He walks between worlds. His medicine is death itself. But the elders laughed. He has healed our children. You are jealous, old woman. And when they turned to call for the doctor, he was already standing in the doorway, smiling. It's all right, he said. Let her be. Fear is also a sickness. Then he looked at Mama Cade, and for the first time she saw what others didn't. The faint shimmer of bones under his skin, the hollow darkness in his pupils. She whispered, God help us. He smiled wider. He already tried. The rains came early that year. Thunder rolled across the hills like the growl of an ancient beast, and the roads turned into rivers of red clay. Yet the clinic stayed bright. Every night, even in the storm, the light from its window burned like an eye that refused to close. The villagers slept soundly again. The cough had stopped. The fevers were gone. But the peace was not natural. It was too quiet, too still. Dogs no longer barked at night, and the frogs near the stream had disappeared. Only the wind moved, carrying strange smells, burnt herbs, medicine, and something faintly metallic, like blood left too long in the sun. The missing people. After Sephu's disappearance, 2 more people went missing, a young mother named Nandi, and an old farmer who had been one of the doctor's first patients. When asked, Dr. Bako said they had gone to the city for further treatment. I sent them where I send everyone who's healed, he said calmly. To rest. But no one ever received messages from them. At the market, women began whispering again. They said at night someone had seen shadows walking behind the clinic, pale shapes moving between the trees. And once, a man swore he saw Nandi's reflection in the clinic's window. But her eyes were hollow and she smiled too wide. Mama Cade's defiance. Mama Cade couldn't sleep. The spirits whispered in her dreams, warning her to burn the clinic before it was too late. So one evening, when the doctor was away gathering herbs near the forest, she went inside. The air was freezing. She found dozens of bottles on the shelves, labeled with names of villagers. Each bottle contained something faintly glowing, swirling slowly like captured breath. When she touched one, it pulsed, and she heard a faint cry from inside. Her hand trembled. These are not medicines, she whispered. These are souls. Then a voice came from behind her. You shouldn't be here, Mama. Dr. Bako stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat. His shadow stretched unnaturally long across the floor. He didn't look angry, just sad. You of all people should understand, he said softly. I was a healer once. I only take from those who are dying. Their souls keep me from fading away. You're not healing them, she hissed. You're stealing them. And what is death, he whispered, stepping closer, if not another kind of healing? Before she could run, he lifted a hand. The air shimmered, and Mama Cade's mouth opened in a silent scream as her body froze. Her eyes dimmed, and a faint mist escaped her lips into one of the bottles. By morning, the villagers found the clinic's door open and her walking stick lying in the mud. Dr. Bako told them she had died peacefully in her sleep. The people mourned her for a day. Then life continued. There was one man who didn't believe the doctor's lies. Obi, the village hunter. He had seen too many strange things to ignore them. His traps near the forest now caught nothing. Birds no longer perched near the clinic. And one night, while hunting, he found footprints that glowed faintly under moonlight. The doctor's footprints. So Obi planned to uncover the truth. He waited for the next storm, when lightning would hide his steps and thunder would mask his noise. Armed with a spear and a charm around his neck, he approached the clinic at midnight. Through a broken shutter, he saw something that turned his blood to ice. Inside, the doctor was not alone. Dozens of figures stood around him. The missing patients, their skin pale as ash, eyes empty, moving like puppets. They surrounded a wooden table, where a dying man lay trembling. The doctor whispered strange words in a language Obi had never heard, and as he spoke, the man's breath turned into a thin white mist that floated into the doctor's mouth. Obi's hand shook, but he held his spear tight. Then the doctor turned, as if he had heard Obi's heartbeat. His eyes glowed, not red, not blue, but pure white. "Hunter," he said from inside the room, though his lips didn't move. "You killed to live. I healed to exist. We are not so different." Obi stumbled back and ran into the night. Behind him, the clinic lights flickered violently, and he heard voices screaming, hundreds of them. The next morning, Obi gathered the elders. He told them what he saw, showed them the glowing footprints still burned into the mud. But when they went to the clinic, it was silent again. The shelves were empty. The bottles were gone. Dr. Bako stood there calmly, reading an old medical book, as if nothing had happened. "You saw a dream," he said gently. "Night plays tricks on tired minds." The elders turned on Obi. "You're trying to chase away the only man helping us." Obi's anger rose. He pointed his spear at the doctor. "If you are truly a man, walk under the sun." The doctor smiled faintly. "The sun and I have an old disagreement." Obi lunged forward, but his spear went through the doctor's chest like smoke. The hunter fell back, horrified, as the doctor stepped closer. "You should have stayed blind," he whispered. "Now you must join them." A scream echoed through the village that night, and by dawn only Obi's charm remained at the clinic door, dripping with blood. After that night, the sickness returned. Those who drank the doctor's medicine died faster. And yet, no one dared stop him. They believed he was testing them, punishing them for doubting his power. Only the children whispered what they saw at night. Shadows walking from the clinic into the forest, carrying empty bottles that glowed faintly like souls searching for a home. The sun had not risen for 3 days. Thick clouds hung above the hills like dirty smoke, and even the birds seemed to have fled. The people of Oluo stayed inside their huts, trembling at every sound from the forest. No one went near the clinic anymore, not even the brave. They said the ground there had turned black, the grass dead, the air heavy like a curse. But Dr. Bako still walked the village paths every night, coat spotless, eyes calm, greeting people who dared to peek from behind curtains. And every night someone else disappeared. On the 4th night, something unholy happened. A woman named Tari, whose husband had died months earlier, heard a knock at her door. When she opened it, her husband stood there, smiling. "The doctor healed me," he said softly. "He said I could come home." She screamed and fainted. By the time neighbors came running, her hut was empty. Only muddy footprints led back to the clinic. By morning, the stories spread like wildfire. The dead were returning. Some said they saw Nandi walking near the stream, carrying a baby with eyes like glass. Others said they saw Sephu sitting by the termite mound again, whispering to the ground. But none of them spoke, they just smiled wide and wrong. The elders' decision. Fear broke what faith could not. The villagers gathered in the square at dawn, faces pale, eyes hollow. The oldest among them, Elder Kamau, finally said, "If the doctor is truly not of this world, we must return him to it." They decided to burn the clinic, to end it before the entire village vanished. Torches were lit, charms tied to wrists, prayers whispered. But as they approached the clinic that night, the door opened by itself. Inside, Dr. Bako was waiting. He looked almost human, until you saw his reflection in the glass, which showed a rotting corpse in a doctor's coat. "You think fire will save you?" he asked quietly. "Fire already took me once." Elder Kamau, trembling, demanded, "What are you?" The doctor smiled faintly, eyes dim like dying coals. "I was the first healer of this village," he said. "When the old sickness came, I stayed behind to treat the dying. But they burned the clinic, saying I had angered the spirits. They burned me with it." He stepped closer, voice echoing unnaturally. "When the flames took me, I begged to live, not for myself but to finish my work. Something answered. Something dark." The doctor's skin flickered. One moment human, the next charred bone and smoke. "Now I heal as I was promised, but the price is souls. The living keep me alive. You made me this way." The villagers screamed and threw their torches. Fire roared through the clinic, but instead of burning him, it fed him. Flames wrapped around his body like serpents, his eyes glowing brighter. "I gave you health," he roared, "and you repay me with fire again." The ground split open. Those who had once been cured, the pale, soulless ones, rose from the shadows and surrounded the villagers. Their mouths opened, releasing a sound like wind through bones. Elder Kamau fell to his knees, whispering prayers as the doctor's face twisted into grief. "I only wanted to save them." The fire burst into blinding white light, and when it faded, the clinic was gone. So was Dr. Bako. Weeks later, the rains returned. The grass grew again, and the forest went silent as if nothing had happened. But sometimes when the moon is full, people say you can still see a white coat walking through the trees. They built a shrine where the clinic once stood, not for worship but for warning. Children were told, "Never take help from what you don't understand." And deep beneath the soil, the old bottles still glowed faintly, each one holding a whisper, a soul that never found rest. Every culture fears death. And in that fear, humans sometimes make pacts with things they should never touch. Dr. Bako's story is not just about a ghost. It is about obsession, about how even kindness can turn into darkness when it refuses to let go. The doctor's tragedy reminds us, healing without compassion becomes control, and those who play God may one day become their own curse. If you walk through an old clinic and feel cold fingers on your shoulder, don't look back. Some doctors never stop treating the sick, even after death. Like, share and follow Scary African Tales by Sanaa for more stories whispered by firelight, where every legend hides a truth, and every cure may come with a price.